Thank you. My name is Linda Egnatz, and I'm currently serving as the 2023-2024 President of the Joint National Committee on Languages. Typically, we go by an unusual acronym, JNCL Nicholas. So we spell out the first four letters and we sort of pronounce the last five as a word. So JNCL Nicholas. JNCL Nicholas is the National Language Advocacy organization. In fact, we are the only one that deals with language policy and legislation at the national U.S. federal level from kindergarten through 20, so all the way through university and postgraduate programs. So we are there to introduce legislation that will positively impact language education, support multilinguals, and we serve as sort of a backstop when there is legislation that potentially could impede our goal and our mission of making sure that every student in the United States has the opportunity to learn English and at least one other language. JNCL Nicholas is made up of organizations members. So rather than individual members, we're made up of the organizations that serve language learning communities, as well as the corporate entities that support and need multilingual services. So we have both nonprofit as well as for-profit members. What we do is we work on Capitol Hill to introduce legislation that's going to make a difference at the local level in your classrooms. Some of the legislation that is currently in Congress, making its way through Congress, that impacts you at the local level are, for example, the BEST Act, which is supporting funding. This is a new act that will support funding for testing for Seal of Biliteracy programs. Another piece of legislation that's really important is an act that supports, for the very first time ever, the Department of Education collecting data on world language programs across the United States. Legislators and policymakers do not make decisions without numbers. They also don't spend money or provide funding or appropriations without numbers and knowing what the impact and how many people would be positively impacted by that legislation. So that's really important. And then another piece that I'm most excited about is a piece of legislation I actually had the opportunity to co-write, which is called World Leap. And this is legislation that will actually provide professional development, will provide funding, and will provide opportunities to actually begin new programs, expand programs, and in addition to that, be able to create teacher pipelines into language education programs. World Leap is an actual LEA, or Local Education Association funding, similar to what we lost in 2011, which were called FLAP grants. And many of the language programs you know of were started with those funds. So all of that is exciting, but it does require support. So there is a QR code if you want to learn more about how you can become a language advocate. We meet on Capitol Hill. We meet with legislators to advocate for our classroom students. So with that, I want to turn over the important work of this particular panel discussion to Margaret Peterson with the World Language Project, and she's going to be introducing her panelists, and you're going to learn an awful lot from them. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for giving us such important information about the national advocacy. That's so, so critical. And what we're going to talk about today is California.
Yep.
We're going to talk about it in a California context. But I have a challenge for all of you first. How many of you listen to podcasts? Can I see some hands? Do you listen to podcasts? Yeah, me too. When do you listen to them? Do you listen to them while you're doing some other activity? While you're driving? Yeah, I see that. It's me too. I listen to it while I'm driving. I do a lot of traveling. I'm the executive director of the California World Language Project at Stanford, but I have 7 sites across California, all the way from Northern California down to San Diego, where Eddie is from. And so I do a lot of driving. I also do a lot of running. I'll be running a half marathon in 2 days. As a matter of fact. So that's actually a short distance. That half marathon, I'm pacing my friend who's doing 100K. That's 64 miles. I'm just running the last 13 with her. It's easy.
Oh, wow.
Right, Celia? That's nothing. So here's my challenge to you. Think of this conversation as a live in-person podcast. Okay? So just think of this as a live in-person podcast that you get to listen to. But here's the challenge for you. While you are listening to what these wonderful people have to say and the conversations that are happening, please think about one inspired action you can take with you and use in your context next week, on Monday, or very soon. What bridge can you build to partner with an ally to have advocacy for your program, your classroom, your school, your community, in the state, in your region? What can you do? So I'm asking you that as a challenge, and I'm gonna hold you to that. I'll give you some time to think about it midway through, and I want you to share something with me at the end. So are you ready? Are you ready to hear what our lovely people have to say? I'm gonna start with Anne.
Okay.
Anne is our California Language Teachers Association. There's also a Chinese language teachers association.
Right.
They're both
Different CLTA.
Different CLT. I hear you're a Japanese teacher.
Yes, I know.
doing
What
here?
am I doing
What are you
here?
doing?
Yes. I lost my way.
Wakarimashita.
Wakarimashita? Hi. Yes. Hi. I am a Japanese language teacher, but it was Korean language that brought me to California. So
안녕하세요.
yes, yeah. My father was studying Korean, was sent to the Defense, it's called Defense Language Institute now, but in the late 50s it was the Army Language School in Monterey, and he was there to study Korean, which he did, and then Japanese twice, and my mother came from Japan to Oklahoma, and she was a lifelong teacher, so I think they would both be very proud of me today, and I'm super excited to be on my first podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But
we don't have an audience. There's no one here.
okay, all right, it's just, all right, just the YouTube camera. Yes, so as Margaret said, my role, I wear, as many of you do, many different hats, and right now I'm on stage wearing the hat of the Advocacy Chair of the California Language Teachers Association committee, advocacy committee, but it's difficult to take the hat off that you've worn for 36 years of the classroom language teacher.
That's right.
And so when you asked me to be on the podcast, I've really been thinking a lot about, these things, and what I wanted to share with you is that lens of the classroom language teacher, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, French, Korean, that's kind of my North Star that guides me as chair. And I think that's really important to have that perspective. And so I'm still new in this position. I think this is my second year chairing or on the committee. Okay, so it's my third year on the committee. Wow, what happened?
We started you off, and then we gave you the chair immediately.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. That's what happens when you retire. Watch out. You get more stuff to do. But something that it was true when I was teaching in the classroom, and I am in classrooms now working with teachers across the U.S. in a different role that I have, which it's a different hat, but also as this committee chair for advocacy, and especially as a teacher of an Asian language, take nothing for granted. This is really, really important. And that everybody is either an ally or a potential ally that you still haven't converted.
Oh, I love that.
And I think,
give me an example.
well, I'll give you an example of the ally part, or a book.
Start with the ally.
Okay, all right. So,
So you see two people. You see this person How do you know they're an ally?
Well, let me give you an example from the CLTA, and especially since we just heard from Linda about, the national, okay, which was not a perspective that I had at all as a classroom language teacher. We're all focused on a very micro level, our classroom, our program, the site level, maybe the district, and especially as programs are becoming more and more, there are some challenges, right? Program cuts, everybody's fighting for a smaller amount of money. But so we're all focused, and I think this is true of all of you, on how do we grow our program? How do we, and that's even more so, I think, with the less commonly taught, like Asian languages. And so take nothing for granted means every day is everything you do is done through the lens of advocacy, every activity. If you're, teaching, engaging teaching is also advocacy. Because if in my school, it was a choice, and among several. So, you're always marketing. And if your teaching is not engaging, especially now, if what you do can be replicated by AI, then we don't need you. So which is why I really loved what
what Sal had to say.
Sal had to say, about not replication. If it can be replicated, then maybe you need to go to some more workshops and learn something. But
that's not these people.
No, not you. Look at you. You're here. So take nothing for granted is kind of coming from that. We don't rest on our laurels.
So I'm going to ask you, how do you know a person's an ally?
Okay, so sometimes it's your students and your parents, so at the micro level in the classroom, if they are happy with what you're doing, you know it, and they are the best allies, especially if there's a point, a little bit later on when there may be some trouble on the horizon. They're the ones that will be your best advocates. But there are also the advocates, the potential allies that you don't know yet. And this is what I really learned from being part of Language Advocacy Day. So stepping out of the micro, stepping out of the classroom, and beyond the district level at the state and federal, and seeing how these folks, like your congressional representatives or your state assembly people, your senators, those are folks who make the decisions about money and about what's valued. Those are the people that make those decisions that trickle down and affect and impact the site level or district level decisions. And so being in this committee really kind of like, I think there's an English expression, what is it called? The scales from my eyes in Japanese, and probably it's in every language, but the scales fell from my eyes. Me kara uroko in Japanese, but like they were like, oh. Here we're toiling at this micro level, which is really important, but for me, the missing piece, 3 decades down, of teaching was these things matter, while we're fighting, not fighting, let's be positive, but while we're struggling, to keep our program, to advocate, people that don't know anything about how language teachers teach are making the decisions. So make them an ally by bringing them into your classrooms, and that's how, because their context for what happens in a language class is from often decades ago, and so of course they think, well, why do you need, why can't Duolingo just do it,
Yeah.
So we need to be good educators, give them comprehensible input, so they understand.
I love that. So I see what you mean by the allies that you know and the potential allies that you may not even know. And maybe if you're in the classroom, you're not thinking about your congressional person, but I'm gonna.
And your district level too.
Yes,
Yeah.
district. And I'm gonna bring it over to Ying for a second.
Yeah.
Ying, because I know you're also a classroom teacher. Here's a retired teacher, we have a classroom teacher. And what opened your eyes to make you realize to go out of the classroom and build those bridges?
I totally agree with Anne. You need to make your classroom as engaging as possible first, because I think words travel around, and I do have kids
talk.
come. Yeah,
Kids talk.
they come. Like my older brother told me this class is fun. I just want to give it a try. Things like that. And at the same time, I think it's very important to let your colleagues know what you are doing. We all have PLCs. You know, during staff meeting, you are asked to pair up with someone teaching math or other subjects. Make sure to share what you do, not just being humble and quiet there. Let other people know. And I do remember one day I was working with my Chinese 4 on a project talking about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, with specifically targeting the goal for quality of education. And my assistant superintendent happened to pass by my classroom. I just grabbed him and just come and take a look. This is what we're doing. I'm hoping I can make an impact, you know, like leave a message in his mind. And he did walk in and show him the posters students made. We were talking about how to build a 21st century schools. Yeah. So kids were making suggestions on subjects that they want to learn but not being offered in school now. So I was like, do you think we should offer this? And I feel like he was nodding and he was listening. I feel like he, at least at that moment, he was my ally, right? He was listening, he was trying to understand. And I know he realizes the value of learning a language. And we're not just like focusing on vocab, focusing on grammar. We're teaching kids real world content. And that's very important, being engaging, making your curriculum engaging, and let people know.
I love that. So I see you're taking from the classroom, making it engaging, making allies at the congressional level, at the district level with the superintendent. It never hurts to write thank you cards, those old-fashioned thank you cards. And then they really remember you because we want to make sure that when we need them, they're going to show up for us because they've seen us thriving. Eddie, how do they thrive in your district? Because we're going to take it to the administrator perspective. Eddie's an administrator. He used to be an administrator of the school site. Now he's an administrator in the district office. He's a director. Tell us how to do it.
First of all, 大家好. 皆さんこんにちは.
안녕하세요.
반갑습니다. My name is Eddie Park. I'm the Director of Global Languages and Innovative Program for Poway Unified School District. How many of you know San Diego, California?
Woo! All right.
How many of you are Mandarin teachers? Raise your hand. Who wants to come to San Diego? This is advocacy in action. Any opportunities I can get, we'll meet you right there. We'll take pictures together. So my story is somewhat similar to Anne, I guess, but it's pretty wild and extreme. Back in 2007, I worked in LA Unified School District as a teacher and assistant principal. I actually taught Korean language and culture in LA Unified as a 6th grade teacher. And then my first principalship was in San Diego. We moved for family reasons. My wife is also an educator. She's a principal as well in the private sector. And I went to San Diego Unified School District. And I always tell this story. It's the easiest job I've ever attained as a principal.
Okay.
They said, we're thinking about opening up a very special school because we only have about 125 kids at the school and we're about to close it down. We need to do something. It's on oxygen tank. We're thinking about bringing a language program, perhaps a Mandarin program.
And you
I think you may be a great fit because I'm sure your Chinese is awesome. Speak some Chinese. So I said, yeah, 안녕하세요, 반갑습니다. 보장이 되고 싶습니다. And then they said, oh my God, your Chinese is unbelievable.
Yes.
I got a principalship in 5 minutes in the largest school district. So I've been an imposter for more than 20 years.
You know, did that play out to your advantage with, as I just have to call it, that wasn't a microaggression, that was a macroaggression.
You know, I was an opportunist at the time. I'm going, really? This is interesting too. This is really fascinating. It's definitely for my advantage.
You made an ally.
I made an ally, and you know what? If it's going to cause me to elevate this environment and to advocate bringing a very important language for representation and to be seen, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And so, as a person who doesn't speak Mandarin, advocacy had to be 110%. We have to be at turbocharge. So here's a school that's about to close down. We did get a magnet school distinction, so we did get some grant, but bottom line is like, how do I recruit? How do I connect? How do I even start this? So it's basically like a survival skill. The advocacy was beyond the principal, you know, being at the school site from 7:45 to 2:30, go leverage the community partnership first. And some of my best friends even now are members of the Chinese community.
What type of community partners did you
Partnerships that we were talking about are organizations that's been in San Diego for more than 100 years, just like the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, which is very big in every city, especially in San Francisco. House of China. It's not a restaurant, folks. House of China is a cultural organization in historic Balboa Park. They've connected me with the local weekend Chinese schools. It's basically really no holds barred. It's like go in there, introduce yourself, network, resources available. And this is how we were able to work with our teachers, and then we were able to partner up with San Diego State University. And we turned a failing school into one of the most revered schools. And it still have a 200 people waiting list even now.
Wow.
And I left that school when I saw a pathway program from K to 12. It's a San Diego Unified, and that's the first Chinese program in San Diego County. And then I went on to move to Poway Unified School District, and I was crazy enough to start again. I started another program, and moving forward, what I knew from there, we were able to create even more partnerships, including any administrators out here right now and who are advocating for these programs. There are many people who are still unaware of the importance of this program, and so you're a 24-hour soapbox, basically talking about the importance of the Mandarin program and other languages that are commonly taught. And you know, we always look at funding and resources as one of our barriers to move forward, but you know, we always tell people to think inside the box and outside the box. And there are people out there, folks, that want to help. There's so many philanthropists out there. Don't limit yourself to state funding or federal funding, because it'll be in a loopity-loop all day long. And so these are some of the advocacy that we do in order to get funded by foundations and what have you. And so we have a Mandarin immersion program right now, thriving with great teachers. And again, we want more. If you want to see me, PowayUSD.com.
Advocate.
Constant. But so we're very excited because I think Mandarin, especially Mandarin, we have many DLI programs, one-way, two-way, what have you. It's a very niche program, and it's extremely important that we give the narrative on the pathway program. And it's important to make sure that we have a clear understanding and be authentic about the attrition rate as well too, which is very, very real. And how do we come up with plans to alleviate that as well too is a big issue. It's a big issue.
Attrition of students.
Attrition of students and teachers who are, you know, round of applause to the Mandarin teachers. They work a There we go. And not enough thank yous, really. And the benefits, you know, we need to do more. And that's an advocacy as well, too. Because truly, the plates are way heavier, way heavier.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so that's huge. That's a big advocacy. But one of the big programs that we are implementing right now is to teach this beautiful language, the Mandarin Chinese language and its culture, not to just the DLI program, but to bring exposure to our students starting at 4 years old at every elementary school, so that we would have an option, more options in the middle and high school to alleviate the attrition and provide additional opportunity for students to take other languages. So thanks to a foundation called the Wong Avery Foundation, we received a grant to fund multiple languages starting at 4 years old, all the way up to 5th grade, and creating a pathway. So right now, we're doing Mandarin, we're doing Korean, we're doing Japanese, we're doing Filipino, Tagalog, we're doing Hindi.
Wow.
It's the first time in San Diego County that we started the Hindi program.
Yeah.
And the ASL program as well, too. And we're looking into Vietnamese next year and Russian. The work that's been done because of that, it's an exposure class. You guys all heard of FLEX or FLEX program? Raise your hand. Right. So we're changing the word foreign out, and we're putting in the word global languages and culture.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, we've piloted the program for about 1.5 years right now. And the work that our teachers are doing, we have a band of 10 teachers that go around to every school, every day, and all the schools are doing this. So we're making it a part of the DNA, a content for students to receive.
I love that. So all of these teachers are advocating. So you've talked about advocacy at the school level with funding. You've talked about advocacy with your community, leveraging funds. Anne and Ying, you've talked about taking it from the classroom, out of the classroom, into the community, at the state level with the legislature, at the district level with your superintendent, building those bridges, going to PLCs, making partnerships with people in your school to do other projects together. What are some ideas that you guys are getting from what you're hearing from our beautiful panelists? I'd like you to turn and talk to your neighbor for 5 minutes. Give yourself each about 2 minutes to turn and talk. What are some ideas that you're having? You can talk about it. Go ahead.
Professional development time.
Let's hear it. I want to hear
PLCs.
that. Volume, come up.
Are we joining in on that conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here, we'll put it over here. There you go.
Hi, cheese.
I know.
Great idea. Good call. Oh yeah, let's get a mic around. I think
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas.
Yeah, you.
Am I unmiked? Hello, can you hear me now? All right. Did you share some good ideas? Did you give a good idea? Let me see a thumbs up if you gave a good idea. Did you receive a good idea? Okay, let's talk some more, and then at the end, I want you to share out with me, with all of us, what some of your ideas are. Okay, so given this context, and I asked them to think about ideas from you, but I want to hear from you what ideas were sparked by each other. What ideas did you think about? What ideas did you get as you were listening to Eddie, as you were listening to Anne, as you were listening to Ying? I definitely got some ideas about how we can take this to the next level, right?
Yeah.
We have the Advocacy CLTA has the one-pager, so you have the whole state information on one page.
Yes, and that can be, so the CLTA Advocacy one-pager is on the CLTA Advocacy page
Website.
on the CLTA website, but it's general to all languages. I mean, it doesn't identify. It's not advocacy for a specific language. It's advocating for language programs in the state of California, and so I think it's something that any teacher, any department chair, any district coordinator could take and use when you need to talk to those folks about why it's important, to learn a language in California.
Yeah.
And there are some, some statistics, or take that and develop something that is more customized, to your particular needs or your program.
Yeah, so you've got the one-pager that summarizes all the languages, and then you can go and talk about your Chinese program and why it's so important, why it needs funding, why you might want to partner with it. Did you?
Oh, I was just going to say that to your first question, lots of things were sparked. First of all, when Ying was speaking, I felt like, I was like nodding constantly because, that was that classroom teacher lens, but, so yes. And then when Eddie was speaking, you're a K-12 district.
Correct.
So, you have that ability to see the big picture, from age 4 all the way through high school graduation. But I thought it was very interesting how you're now in your first year of, I guess you wouldn't say piloting
the program is
another pathway.
Yeah.
And I could imagine that students who aren't in the dual language immersion, in the district, but something sparks with them, and then they carry that with them because and then they select, more in-depth study when they have the opportunity. Because when I was teaching on the first day of level 1 of Japanese, I always wanted to know, why did you choose Japanese? Right? It's very interesting because depending on the language, there are certain, reasons that are really common. And I think it's probably similar for Chinese. One of the top 3 is always, for the Japanese, was always like, I wanted something different, and nobody ever says, I want something, I would pick the easiest one, right? Like, nobody usually says that, unless they're heritage, maybe. But the students also said, when I was 8, we had a neighbor who had, the mom was Japanese, or there was some kind of after-school program or summer program, and so that sparked it. And I think that's what you're doing. That's a potential,
planting the seeds for spark.
Planting the seeds, making that investment.
Yeah. I mean, these days, all you have to say, BTS or Blackpink. Yes! I want to learn world languages, global languages. I mean, we leverage our pop culture these days, and it's so cool to be Asian right now. And I hope it continues that pathway. And really, representation matters.
It does.
And what we've experienced because of this exposure or this 5-week per lesson type of situation throughout the, exposing the students to some of these languages, what's happened was it created the work of equity, inclusion.
Yes.
Didn't even realize we were at work on that, because when you're teaching the language, the students who speak those languages that are often quiet and do not have a voice, they spark up, they want to share.
And they have a sense of belonging,
They have a
like our
sense of
last
belonging.
panel was talking about.
And
right?
it was an incredible experience that I didn't realize that the work that was being created. Give you an example, we started Hindi for the first time in our district or in San Diego County. And we have a pretty large population of Indian community with different languages that they represent. But the commonality is the culture, the music, the food. We had fine art groups come in and do the instruments, and all these kids are doing this on the weekend, and they all were very, very excited and just energized, and they want to share their voice.
And they had their voice.
Their voice.
They're seen, they're heard.
They're seen,
and
they're
valued.
heard, and they belong. And
Beautiful.
it's amazing the work that's been done. I mean, same for the Filipino community, the Korean community as well too. Very diverse, like Mountain View, our district.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I really want to follow up on that trend, being seen and being heard. I think I'm a classroom teacher. I used to think advocacy is not my job. I just take good care of my students, that's it. But think about it, it's your program. You might be the only Chinese teacher on that school site. And if you don't fight for yourself, there is a chance you might lose your program. Of course, we made allies to help us, but I think that your best ally is yourself. So give yourself the courage to walk out of your comfort zone. How to make yourself being seen, being heard? I know in our culture, we're humbled. We just get the job done and, don't create any trouble, that's it. No, I really think we need to do more. 2 weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks ago, just at this place, my school district had its Earth Day celebration. It used to be only science teachers, brought their students to present their work. But this is the first year we world language teachers, Chinese, Spanish, we joined the event.
What did you do?
Actually, we had a table right there.
Yeah?
And we presented projects our students did to talk about how to, environmental problems, challenges.
Yeah.
And it actually was very interesting. A group of Chinese 3 created an idea saying that, we need to give each household of Cupertino, city of Cupertino, 5 chickens.
Chickens.
So they can eat eggs and they can share extra eggs with the community. We're going to have a car called FedEx to go around, collect eggs, and send.
Oh my God.
I know, send to senior centers and help homeless people. All of a sudden, everybody, I saw administrators, science teachers, they just walked to that, our booth and listen. This is the best, we have ever heard the presentation. Because although the project was done in Chinese, but I think the idea is just so attractive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way to advocate the program.
Such beautiful advocacy.
Love that.
And I could see building that and actually doing that, having your students do that project with the science class.
Yes.
Right? Every time I see a FedEx truck now, I think about my students because you told us about that. And
It's actually the term being used on
Branding is
campus.
right on.
FedEx.
There's
Feed eggs.
nothing better, no better advocacy than having something students created
Yes.
going viral on your campus.
Branding
Yeah.
is amazing.
So, in fostering that environment and building those
Yeah.
bridges with people from different colleagues of different
Yeah.
languages, different cultures, not being in competition with each other. I loved your concept from the beginning. If you're not an ally, you're a potential ally.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I want to piggyback on what
Yes,
Ying was
go
saying. So another part of, I think, advocacy at the site level and the district level for a classroom teacher that we don't often think of, but it makes a big difference, and it's also might push us a little bit out of our comfort zone, especially if we're not native, English speakers or immigrant, is when you're partnering with your colleagues and you're doing these things, it's also important to volunteer for, I know everybody's really busy, but if they need somebody on school site council.
Beautiful.
Or, we need somebody because, as Liz Matchett, our,
Yes, I was just thinking
CLTA executive director, always says,
Say it.
if you're not at the table, you're on the table. And we want to be at the table, not what's on the table where other people are making decisions, and when you are frequently there, and it's hard, especially if you're the only one, or maybe there's just 2 teachers of Chinese at your school, and you may feel like, but my English is, who cares? Show up. Because you begin to be seen as, you literally are seen, but you're seen as essential. You matter. Like, your opinions matter, and your input matters, and you are there at the table, not on the table. So.
And when a principal thinks of, I need somebody for this, they'll think of you.
Yeah.
And then once they start calling on you, you become essential.
Yeah.
Right, Eddie? What were you
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, as you say that, and we encourage our teachers, we have to be aware as school site leaders to leverage, again, the teachers that you talk about and give them the opportunity to do so. And best way to do that, obviously, encouragement, and give them that energy that you are able to do this. Come and join in the table, like you said. Join the table, and your voice matters.
Yeah.
Your representation matters, and that's the leadership's job to do, to go out there and stand behind them.
And when you say leadership, I love that, because you're saying that from a school leader perspective,
Absolutely.
a district leader perspective. So whether you're a school leader, a district leader, you're a leader in your classroom, you're a leader of your community, that you are a leader, and that matters. We want to hear some of your ideas. Let's open. I see.
We have mics?
Here
There you go.
Can you share something that it has sparked your interest by listening to this podcast, this live podcast today? We want to hear some of your ideas so that we can share amongst each other, because this is about advocacy, and you have the opportunity now to share some advocacy ideas of your own. What ideas do you have? Go ahead. Yes.
There's
A couple. Yes.
Thank you. I'm the first grade teacher, but I always have questions for, like, especially AD talking about that culture is the language essential elements for learning language, especially to the advocates about the language. Because this morning I heard about Khan Academy talking about AI. I'm just thinking about the elements of language you can really done by the AI, that they can teach a skill, that kind of basic grammar stuff, you can self-learning. But what AI couldn't do is the cultural part, the human part. So I think I got a spark from AD that's important for being a teacher, especially a language teacher. You are important because you are the cultural ambassador. You are not just simple language skill teachers. So that's what the biggest takeaway for today. But I do have a question for Anne and Eddie. How do I create a job? Because both of you have been talking about that existing job and how teacher can advocate, be seen with a whole institution. But my question is, I have tried to look for a job, try to relocate in the California, but kind of democratically more non-Asian population occupied. I have a hard time from Goleta all the way to Monterey. There's no high school has a Mandarin teacher language teacher. So my question for you, how do a teacher, they like to relocate to a region, there's no existing job for them, and how can they recreate the job for them, speak up to create a job for themselves? That's my question for you both.
So are you talking about in the public school system or private school? Public
Public or private? Or both? Both.
Okay.
Public.
Yeah. So you probably have let me share
Yeah.
my thoughts, and then I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear what the district administrator has to say about this. So I think I can just share the example of how Japanese program started at Los Gatos High School, which is where I retired from. I taught other things, but I came after I think it was 2 or 3 years before I was actually hired. There were advocates in the form of students, mostly students, who really wanted, this was like, I think the late 90s, right? Because I started the program in 2001 there. A lot of language programs, especially Chinese and Japanese, Korean, the Asian language programs, from my experience, begin because there was a strong push from the public. From the community. And in a public school, especially now, it's probably even more challenging, but in the public school, there are factors such as, competition for sections in the high school, all of those kinds of things. Union, labor union, teachers union rules that you have to follow. And if you're beginning a program, if a district is beginning a program, it's usually because some group has pushed for it in the community, in the district, in other words, the people that vote for board members, constituents. But it almost always only begins with one class, right? Let's say a class of Chinese 1, that gets your foot in the door. And then you build. So what helps is, this is just, I came with other credentials. I'm also credentialed to teach English and social studies. So I was hired to teach one section of Japanese because the district wanted to see, well, we don't know how this is going to go. We have French, Spanish, Italian, German. I don't know about this Asian language, but the parents are kind of noisy about it. So yeah, let's do one. But I could teach, so I taught 2 sections. So if you could get credentialed in something else, and you're willing, and then there's because there are more, so you find a school that has an opening in some other course that you could teach. That gets your foot in the door. And then you start building those allies and those relationships. After school, maybe you have a Chinese culture and language club, something. It's an investment in time, but that's one way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for your comment. First of all, we all know after COVID or during COVID, we all knew that person-to-person relationship, teachers are absolutely important. As AI continues to reinvent itself, AI, I believe, does not create guanxi. And so that is truly important. It's a deeper meaning. There's no direct translation. Koreans are the same way with guanxi, 관계. And so that is deep. And so that'll never replace any teachers. But with that said, I get that kind of question all the time. And I'm going to be very practical in the answer. You're right. It's hard to get a single subject Mandarin and try to have a classroom. There's course request forms, there's competition within the school. And if the kids are not signing up, your class is gone. And so I always tell our potential Mandarin teachers, okay, your heart is to teach, and your heart is to wanting to come to a school, correct? Well, you need a credential. And with that credential, to be practical and to be marketable as much as possible, I always have recommended that teachers go for the multiple subject credential.
Exactly.
Because a multi-subject credential, you are allowed to teach in the middle and high school. It's not the other way around, right? And you've got to get a bilingual cross-language acquisition development B-CLAT credential in order to teach. So once you go in there as a teacher in multi-subject in one of the schools, let's say it's middle school or what have you, that's with the school district that doesn't have a Mandarin program right now, but right now every public school is gearing towards the California Department of Education Initiative of 2030 bilingualism, right?
Global California 2030.
Right. And so every school is trying to figure out how we do this, right? And so once you get there, you're right. I mean, we started some of our middle school program with what you call Power Hour Language and Culture program. And we do that after school. And you get a 5.5 extra, what do you call it, a credit, and they take that course. And that's when, oh, we have a teacher on staff who speaks Mandarin.
Yeah.
There we go. And you're planting that small seed, and it will continue to grow, and then it will turn into a final class. That's some of the advocacy work that we're doing right now as we speak at my schools.
And the seal of biliteracy.
Seal of biliteracy is huge.
Raise your hand over there. Evan, when I was assistant principal at Lowell High School, we went to a photo op together, publicly talking about the seal of biliteracy, and he was our student with the seal of biliteracy.
Wow,
Speaking for
congratulations.
us, advocating for, and we didn't know we were each going to be here today, and we've discovered each other, and that was a piece of advocacy that we did together back in the day when he was still a high school student, and here we are. What other questions or thoughts do you
in
have
the back.
about
Somebody
advocacy?
raise their hands.
Somebody in the back.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay.
I just would like to share an experience. I really like the word for advocacy is to show up, to show up for the students. We have movie night, field trips, a lot of school activities, so we can shop around to learn about students outside of the classroom. My name is Ying Jin. I'm from Stanford Preparatory School. Our high school is new, it's second year, so I remember last year that when we have sport games, athletic games, home games, they say that, oh, we're looking for volunteers to do the school keeper. I don't know how to score volleyballs or basketballs. I learned it from YouTube, and then I volunteered there. Be honest, our girls volleyball lost everything, only won one game, and then this is the second year I also volunteer as a schoolkeeper, and I saw them won more than half of those games. So you see how growth the students, not only in your classroom, also outside the classroom, not only academic, but also athlete.
Yeah.
So those are the advocacy that you can show up as students' games. And we also understand we have a home, have our own life. I have 2 kids. Yeah. So that's why sometimes time is very important for us. But however, if you're doing something that you really like, and even though you dedicate your time, you made a commitment there, but you also feel that, separate work and life, but also you feel really joy. You find joy from it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Show up for your kids. Yes, there's not a better way to advocate than that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We only have 5 minutes left, and we're going to end on time. So
I just wanted to share a resource.
Please, that's what I was going to ask you.
So it's
you read my mind.
Okay. If you Google AATJ, which is, I'm a past president of American Association of Teachers of Japanese, and one of the things I created a couple of years ago when I was president, and it's on the AATJ website. So if you Google AATJ Advocacy SOS, just note that somewhere. It's the SOS doesn't mean help, help, help. Okay. The S stands for strategies, many of which we've talked about. Strategies for maintaining a high profile for your program. Strategies to stay strong. Some good ideas. The O stands for opportunities, which we've also talked about. Like seek out those opportunities. And the third S is support, know where to go when you need it. Now this is directed, specifically for Japanese programs, but
Across the board.
you can apply it, to any language. And I don't think the Japanese teachers will get mad at me, for sharing it.
I have one too.
It's mine. I put it. So
I have one more resource as well. I don't know, how many of you heard of NABE, National Association of Bilingual Education?
In New Orleans.
Okay, well yes, it was in New Orleans, and normally about 4,000 people show up for that. It's a multilingual, bilingual education. It's the largest education conference for multilingualism. And when I went there, the Asian languages was minimal. Maybe about 5 people showed up. And the national organization wanted to up the ante and really support the Asian languages, including Mandarin. So I've been asked to be the chair of the API group for NABE, and we want to invite every single one of you to represent your school district, your organization.
It's in Georgia next year.
It's in Georgia next year.
In Atlanta? Or?
It's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
And we want to see more of you. We want to see all of you talk about your stories at your school and best strategies that we can learn from each other. And that is an advocacy work. We're talking about national level, U.S. Department of Education, American Federation of Teachers, and you have funding opportunity at the State Department level. CLTA.
Let's show up, let's go.
Let's all show up.
Georgia.
Guys, at NABE.
Yes.
We'll be there.
We're all up.
They're gonna go. What happened?
It's going to be a tidal wave. It's going to be awesome.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
The last resource that I want to share with you guys is the 35th annual Summer Seminar for World Language Teachers. We have Japanese, Chinese teachers here. We have so many beautiful strands. Our lovely ACTFL Professional Development Director is one of our keynote speakers. Give us a wave, give us a wave. So the ACTFL President will be there. The lovely Krishana Heinz-Gator, who wrote the Anti-Racist World Language Classroom. This is a way that you can join forces with your colleagues, spend a whole week in the beautiful Santa Barbara, and become strong advocates together to build your better classroom, to build your networks across the state and across the nation. People from all over the country will be there. We want to see you there. I'll put some out on the table. Pick it up. We want to see you in Santa Barbara, so come join us. And we'll advocate for languages together, especially the Asian languages.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
谢谢。